Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Psychic Kitchen podcast. Today we have Lynn Gaffney, the author of Mastering All That I Am, A Master's Journey. How you doing today, Jimmy and Lynn?
Yeah.
Hey, Jimmy. Hey, Thomas. Thank you for inviting me. It's an honor and it's a pleasure to be with you guys today. So I'm excited.
Thank you, brother. Yep, looking forward to it. Looking forward to delving into Lynn's history and what he's doing now. So, yeah, should be good. Should be fun.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to share out, Jimmy, while we just do this real quick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, while we share out, Lynn, if you would you like to just explain a little bit about, just give us an overview of kind of
Sure.
about yourself?
So I live here in Atlanta, Georgia area, Smyrna, Georgia. Me and my wife and I, Jamaica, we own a healing center. It's called the Healing Environment. It's been open since January of 2022. And it's been a lifelong goal for her since she was about 9 years old. And so she's sort of been on this path all of her life. And then we went to high school together, and then we went our separate ways. And then we sort of came back together at our 30-year high school reunion. And it was magical. And then so we talked about, and so I had been on my journey and she had been on her path. And then and she told me about this healing center. So so I'm a Reiki Master, a channeler. I wrote my first book, Mastering All That I Am, working on my second book. So there's a lot of things that we're doing here at the Healing Center. Overall purpose is to raise the consciousness of everybody that comes in. And so as a shift is coming in next year, 2024, we want to be at the forefront to help as many people as we possibly can, and in many ways as we possibly can. So that's what we're doing.
Excellent. Sounds great. I know I live in the UK. I haven't been to the States, but when I do come over, because I do plan on coming over, I'll certainly drop in and say hello and maybe get some treatments. See what's going on. I believe you've been, haven't you, Thomas, to the healing?
I've been up to the store. It's a very nice place. Yeah.
Good.
Ever expanding. One of the better stores in the one of the best stores in the area, honestly. I've been to a lot of spiritual stores around here. Very welcoming, very inviting. Yes.
Sounds good.
And that's our overall aim is to be inviting. We want to be we want to be that unique sort of destination that encompasses everything, that shares everything, that everybody's that walks in has an opportunity to elevate and to heal and to do anything that involves their raising their vibration and frequency. We want to be able to do that. And so we are just at this point to where we're no judgment. You come in, we're going to help you as much as we need, as much as you allow us to help you. And so we keep that environment and that air clean and clear so that people can walk in and be their true selves.
Excellent. So do you and your wife Jamaica obviously run this center? Do you have other practitioners come in, or do you like biolocate and do everything?
No, we have other practitioners. We have chakra alignments. We have a Reiki. I'm a Reiki master of sound healing. We have a Reiki healing massage therapist, licensed esthetician. We have a facial room where we do yoni steams. We do facials. We do all of that. We have yoga practitioners. We have a qigong instructor, and we have sort of events that all through the month that we hold, things of that nature, just to bring in people and to elevate them and all of that. So there's a number of different practitioners that we have on our at the center.
Oh, cool! Sounds like a nice wide.
We sell crystals, beads, chains, all of that.
Excellent. Should we? I've got a question. Covered that. You have a bi-monthly Sacred Mail experience.
Yes.
Event. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So one of the things when this year has been sort of really transformative for me and knowing my true self, and one of the things that I found out is the reason why incarnated in this body, in this avatar body, was there are a lot of men and a lot of ethnic men who have chosen to hide in their gifts, and for whatever reason there is. And so my overall aim is to develop a sort of bi-monthly sort of meeting, an experience that they can come in. It's non-judgment. They talk about what they've been going through. They talk about their trauma. They talk about different experiences that they have. And everything that I have gone through in my whole life has been set up to prepare to really help them and help them walk them through. And so I remember our first meeting that we had in January, and we had about seven gentlemen, and probably 6 of them hated their parents. And it was angry. And so fast forward to today, some of those same outstanding gentlemen are helping in really, helping, fostering, healing for new gentlemen, new men to come in, because they've gone that road and they've done their trauma. They understand that it's 100% about you and 0% about everybody else. And so your response is somebody's energy towards you. You have to understand that it's 100% about you, and everything is you're magnetically attracting everything towards you. And so that's a hard thing for people, especially men that have this strong ego, to really understand. And so we have to be able to understand and strip them. So I've been able to be sort of really direct with them without being sort of condescending, and just be, straight and understand what their responsibility is and their purpose. And some of them have really, really horrific traumas. And I tell them, the traumas are horrific, because ultimately their responsibility to heal from it. And so that's what we foster that. And so it's been really, really life-changing for me, and it's life-changing for the wonderful men that choose to come in twice a month.
And I've attended it, and I have to say it's quite amazing. It's something I've seen lacking in the spiritual scene for a while, is that there isn't a lot of outlets for men to actually speak about things. Even from a spiritual perspective or a traumatic perspective, we're always kind of taught not to show our emotions, not to be vulnerable.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because the atmosphere that we create, Jimmy, is an atmosphere where they immediately walk in and they feel different. They feel like it's inviting, and there's an air about it. There's an air of protection. There's an air of spirituality when you walk in that very few other centers like it have. And so you walk in and you feel immediately relaxed, that, okay, there is people on the other side and at the table that are willing to hear and listen and not be judgmental and understand exactly what you're going through. And so that's what we want to keep going and foster as we move forward.
So it's kind of like they can feel there's like a safe place, the energy of it. I mean, as you know, Thomas knows, and I'm sure most everyone watching, when you can sense the energy of a place when you walk into it, you can feel whether it's antagonistic, whether it's safe, whether it's, whether there's going to be whether it's just unbalanced. And it sounds like the center, obviously, that you've got is just encompasses that safe place, that energy, and people feel okay to open up there. And just as you're obviously I don't know whether you see yourself as a mentor or anything like that to the guys who come, did you have someone like yourself to kind of guide you and be there for you to open up to, or was it a sort of
that's the amazing part about it, because the book talks about it, is growing up and all along, I had no one. And so I had to maneuver and really learn on my own. And every person on the other side of me was female. I had absolutely 0 men that could mentor me. I had none. And so it was trial and error for me. I had to go through all of these experiences and then learn from them, and then download them and store them up so that when other men that come in that's going through some of the exact similar experience that I went to, I know what you're going through. And so, and I think it was that by design. that I had to go through, because some of the greatest teachers and the greatest healers teach and heal from experience. And so I got it. And so that's why I think that I chose to do this and live this kind of life, because there was absolutely no one that could mentor or I could foster from, but I wouldn't have changed it in any other way.
Yeah, totally. I like that. I asked you this obviously before we came on air, but can you just sort of, because obviously this is the first time we've met, whereas you've known Thomas for a little bit. Do you want to just explain how you met Thomas?
Yeah, and so it's funny because I'm going to go back to May, and I had a reading from a powerful channeler, and she had indicated to me that I am going to start channeling from an entity. She said they're not ready to reveal themselves yet. So here I'm thinking, okay, it was a Pleiadian or Andromedan or something, Galactic Federation. I'm thinking way out there, right? And so July comes along, all of these, and so each person that I talked to, and from a psychic standpoint, told me a little bit more information, right? And so from, I think it was August timeframe is when I started to really, Thomas came up in the live and the TikToks, right? And so I just kept going, and I kept listening to his lives, and my guides kept saying, you need to get a reading from him. And they kept saying it, and I'm like stalling. I'm like, nah, I wasn't listening. And then one day I says, okay, I'm going to come up. And then he clicks on my my profile, and he says, Len Gaffney, master teacher, right? And then he does his thing, and he says, well, you're in the Emerald Order and all of this kind of stuff. Similar things to when the channeler said back in May. He was confirming some of those things, and then he said, they're telling me that you need to go back to Atlantis. And then he started telling me things, and so my next meditation is exactly where I went. I went to Atlantis, and I was a sage in Atlantis, and I had a wife back then, and she was like a veterinarian type. She worked on animals, right? And so he and I was trying to prevent the Atlanteans from doing things that violated universal law. They were mixing people and animals, right? And so I was trying to stop them from doing it, and I ended up getting persecuted as a result of it, right? And I wanted to watch myself die. So I'm in my meditation, and I'm standing in the middle of the square, and I see this laser coming at me, and I disintegrate.
Oh, right.
And so, okay, and my wife, and I said, well, who was my wife? She was a person that I knew when I worked for NASA. She was a really good friend, and so that kind of piqued my interest about Thomas, and I'm like, okay, maybe these. And then I had another reading, and he told me about shamanic principles, which led me to I had a past life in Peru as a shaman, right? And I went to that past life. And so all of this was kind of shaping up. And then my guide told me that he's going to be coming to the center, right? And I was just waiting for him to let me know that. And then one day he messaged me on Facebook Messenger, right? And then we struck up a rapport and started talking and all of that. And I told him about the center, and then one day, and then the Sacred Mill experience, he comes walking through the door. He shows up, right? And so that's when I knew that it was going to be something magical, and it's just expanded from there. And I consider him a good friend, and I've learned a lot from him. I mean, we've been on the phone for an hour and a half, talking about things, and so that's how we met. But I was just waiting for him to, and I know his guys were telling him he needs to stay in the Atlanta area. Yeah,
my guides are on me quite a bit. They're like, you need to message him. Even when you were in the live feed, they were like, I was just waiting for you to donate for like days. I was like, I'm waiting. But it is divine timing happens.
Yeah. So it was pretty magical. So.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. You mentioned about meditation, and that was one of the things that when I watched your other podcast with Zen, Life Verbs, you talked about meditation in that, and I was just wondering, how how do you meditate for a start, and what forms of meditation do you kind of offer at the center, and do you consider kind of everything as a form of meditation in a sense, if it can bring you in that moment? As like, it can be anything. It could be walking, doing the dishes, could be obviously not walking and doing dishes at the same time. That'd be a good trick. But like, what are your thoughts on meditation and the different forms that it takes?
100% agree. Everything is meditation. Everything is moving meditation, everything, going outside, taking a walk. I meditate when I go to the gym. I put my headphones on. I meditate before each set, and I tap in. And so meditation can be everything. And so and everything and nothing at the same time. And so you have to understand what your sort of niche is for you, which is crafted frequency wise and vibrationally wise for you individually, and go in that direction, because you are unique. Everyone is unique. Everyone is their own God. And so that's the challenge that everybody has to understand. And there are certain sort of inroads that people take, and okay, I'm going to mimic this person and mimic this person. Then if you step back and you totally look at yourself and you tap in and understand your own frequency, your own vibration, and get to know it. And then that's when you can craft your individual meditation for what it is. And a long time, I was, beginning of the year, from probably about a year and a half, I was waking up at 2 in the morning in severe pain in my back and in my hips and everything. And so I was doing this sort of breathing, which transmuted the pain all the way up, and I can get rid of the pain. I can move the pain all the way up into my head. And it's just, and it's sort of the sort of reconfigures the neurotransmitters in my head. So I was doing that since January this year. And I was getting up at 2 in severe pain. And I would go downstairs, I'd come into my office here, and I'd go in my chair and I'd do the breathing, and it's gone. And then a few hours later, I'd doze off back to sleep. And then a few hours later, I'd go in my meditations. Right. And so probably September timeframe, the pain was so severe that I couldn't do that anymore.
Oh, right.
I couldn't do it anymore. And then so the teacher that taught me the channeling class, went to channeling class in October, and then he had a partner, and then she told me, your guide wants you to meditate. And I said, damn, he just could have freaking said that instead of putting pain in me. He just could have told me that shit. And so I'm thinking, all right. And so now at 3 in the morning, that's what I do. I get a signal, and I tap into my meditation. I ground myself immediately. I ground myself, and I ground myself in the center of Earth. There's a crystal in the middle center of Earth, and I ground myself to that. I call back all of my energy that I passed out from the day before. I command all of that back, and then I tap in for who I want to channel, whatever I want to do. If I want to go to the 11th dimension, I go to the 11th dimension. If I want to channel Sasquatch, I do that. I mean, that's what I do. So it has been a practice for me to get up at 3:30. If something happens that somebody is needing me to do something, I can wake me up an hour early. And so that happened about a month ago. So that's an interesting story about what happened there. I was getting woken up at 1:58 a.m. right, and it was like, okay, I go downstairs and I meditate, and I'm tapping into my to Sasquatch. I call him my brother now, my Sasquatch brother, right? And I feel this sharp pain in my gut, and it's severe, right? And I didn't know. I thought it was me. I thought it was, well, maybe I ate something or whatever, right? And then the meditations, go through the meditation for about 45 minutes, and then it's gone. Night 2, guide wakes me up at 1:58 again. So I'm like, okay, something's going on. Now I'm getting used to this, getting up at 3:30 meditating, because I wasn't doing that. And so I go down there and I meditate. This time I tap in, I really connect to him. And it's actually him. It's actually he's in pain.
All right.
And then I feel his suffering. And then what I do is all the work that I have been doing for really energy work and really holding as much light energy as I possibly could. I have been doing that for like a month and a half. And so I just welled up all of this light energy and inside of me and passed it to him until I no longer felt the pain in my stomach. And then he was healed. And so I checked on him a couple of days after that, and he was, 100%. And it's been magical ever since. And so that's me learning about how to tap in. And it's so funny because back in August, when I had that reading in May, she said I was going to be channeling an entity. I never would have guessed that it was a Sasquatch, right? And so I come down. This is before I'm transmuting the pain. I come down and I do that, and then I fall asleep, and then I'm dreaming that I'm underground. I wake up, and then I meditate about a half hour later. Probably about 7, 8 o'clock, and then it took me right back to where I was in dreaming. And then all of a sudden, there she was, a female Sasquatch, right standing in front of me. And I'm like, okay. And I was so excited that I didn't ask a name. I didn't do anything. I was just, that was it. And then, of course, a few days after that, I couldn't go back. So that's when I knew I needed to take a channeling class to really refine my tools. And then when I did that, I found out that it was his mother. She was sort of, holding the fort and really passing the duties off to him. And then that's when the relationship with him and I started to really solidify. It was surreal, and I can feel his intensity, his strength get stronger as we get stronger together. Because when it first happened, his mom was putting all kind of visions in my mind, and he was supposed to up his energy to reset me, and I was supposed to up my energy to reset me, right? But it wasn't happening. So mom took over, right? And then so Sasquatch has an amazing ability to transport themselves from underground to outside. They can do that. And so all of a sudden, she transports herself outside. I'm really point of view looking through her eyes. She's walking through the forest. She's brushing this tree on the right. I can see it. I can feel the hair on her. I can see everything. And then she starts putting these thoughts and visions in my mind. And then what she did next is she amped up the energy, and it reset me. And then about 2 minutes later, she did the same thing, and it reset me. And so she was like, well, when you have kids, it's like, well, let me show you how it's done. That's what it was like. And then the next couple of days, him and I were practicing. His intensity back then wasn't as strong as hers, but now it is. But when I was thoughts in my head, he was resetting me and all of that. And it has been absolutely surreal and really exciting. And they are absolutely nothing. He, like some of the the stories out there. And he gave me a download of their history about what happened to them. This is a million years ago. And a download, and he just told. And I'm looking like a store, like a movie theater of what happened with some of the extraterrestrials that came in. That really about a million years ago, extraterrestrials came in. And there was like a handshake contract agreement that they were going to take a small percentage of the Sasquatch civilized species and start experimenting and making the next, evolutionary existing hominid that were going to make the, evolve, right? What happened is they didn't count on them decimating their species by 50%. And so that's what happened. They cut their species by 50%. And so I'm seeing all of this. And so that's why they're like this now, untrusting a little bit, some of that history and all of that they're bringing with it. That's why they are like they are, because of how they were treated, a million years ago. So that's the reason. And I'm thinking, wow. And they're absolutely nothing like you read stories and all of that. I mean, they're very high vibration and just telepathic and just, and him and I can just, we could remote view something just like that. And it was so funny because I don't know, Thomas knows this. It was there was this TikTok viral video up in Quartzville Creek, Oregon, and it was this mountain sort of doorway that this one gentleman had claimed that he saw a giant peeping through the hole up in there, right? And so everybody was sort of going towards there, right? So one day so one of the meditations, him and I are getting this relationship. I'm like, hey man, so what's up with the with the mountain doorway in Oregon? That's all I said. He goes, let's go see. I'm like, what? And I didn't know. It was like caught me off guard. And with like that, we were right in front of the door, remote viewing, right? And then we went on the other side of it, and then I felt this large presence.
Yeah.
And that was and I had went through a bunch of things for the past 2 months, no fear. That was the first time I felt fear. Then when he sensed it, he backed out. And then his next sentence was, there was nothing for you to fear. And then all of a sudden, within a quantum second, I'm viewing a past life as a giant. I'm standing there, I'm like 30 feet tall, right? And I'm looking at myself, and I'm looking up, and I see this asteroid coming towards Earth, right? And in the moment that it hit in my meditation, I felt the sharp pain in the top of my head right there.
Oh, right, blimey.
And he said, there's nothing for you to fear. So I'm like, I got to go back. I got to go back to this cave, right? And so I'm telling my channeling teacher about this, and he's had experience with giants, and the overwhelming energy that you feel from them is like overwhelming. Gets a little bit, you get a little tentative. But I told him I got to go back. So the next morning, I'm channeling my Sasquatch. I'm like, okay, you want to do this? He said, I'm not going with you. I'm like, well, okay, I'm gonna still go. So I go. I'm in the front. I go in. I traverse down the throughway, right, and I can feel the presence. And then on the far right, sitting and sloughed down against the cave wall, is a giant. And then as I get closer, I feel pain in my right leg. And so I'm thinking he's hurt in his left leg, and I can see it, right? And he knows that I'm there to help him. So I did the same thing to him that I did to my Sasquatch brother. I generated all this white light in me, and I passed it to him until there was no more pain in his leg. And then I didn't bother to stick around. I didn't want to know his name. I just wanted to do what I needed to do. And then a couple of times after that, I went and checked on him, right? And then the final time I checked on him, I wanted to see if I still had, because I knew he was okay the second time I checked on him. So the third time I checked on him was like, it was just going to be to see if I still had that fear. And so I went in, and I went all the way through, and he wasn't there. So I took a left, and I went down about 6 feet, and I went inside the mountain, and there he was standing up. Bright red hair.
Yeah, I've heard that about giants. They got bright red hair.
Yeah. And so I was like, I'm here if you need me. If I don't want to encroach on you. I said, here, I'm your friend. I'm like, if you ever need me, just reach out. I'm sure my guide will let me know. And then that was it. And so that was the experience that I had with that. And it was like, my brother Sasquatch and I, we're just taking trips all across, just taking trips all across. If I ask the question, I know he'll go, let's go see.
Yeah. What a better way to find out. Yeah.
And so
he explained his connection to you.
What's that?
Has your guide explained his connection to you?
I believe that I used to be one.
Okay.
And that's what I know. They're my ancient family. They're a family of mine. And so that's what I assume that my connection. I didn't really ask, but I'm assuming that that's what it is.
That's cool.
Is that right?
Because I was going to ask you about how you got into channeling Sasquatch, but that was that was really awesome and interesting. I was just curious, the pain that you felt that woke you up during the night. I was going to ask if you knew the cause of that, and then it kind of suddenly dawned on me that is it because your Sasquatch brother was in pain, and that was his way to get your attention.
Maybe.
Mm.
But when I woke up, I get a sharp, I get this resonating frequency in my ear.
Mm.
It's this buzzing, and I know it's my guide.
Mm.
And all right, and my wife is laying next to me. I'm like, I'm talking to myself. All right, I'm getting up, right? And so I get up and I just go downstairs. I throw in my headphones and I just tap in. But from the pain from the beginning of the year, that was my guide putting that pain there to get me up to meditate. Now I don't have it now, but once I got it, it's like, okay, now you get it and you just get your ass up and meditate. But I wasn't doing that back then. But.
So you don't mind getting up at that time of the night.
No, I'm used to it now because
Yeah.
I was getting up anyway because I couldn't sleep during the night. And I remember one reading Thomas had, the second reading, he says you're having problems sleeping. I'm like, yeah. And so that's when I'm like, okay. So everybody knew that I had problems sleeping, but it's like, okay, why am I having problems sleeping? And so I know why, because I wasn't getting up doing what I needed to do. And so now it has been. I look forward to getting up. I just get right up and just go do it.
Sounds good. I mean, short of my building being on fire, I don't think my guys could do anything else to get me up at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. To be honest. So.
Yeah, I had to get used to it, but I'm used to it now.
But you'd be staying up late, Lynn. Sometimes you'd be up to like 12, and then you'd be getting up at 2.
And I get right up at 2:30, and it's I don't know how I do it. It's just I do it. And I'm just okay, let's do it. Because if there was something that I need to do from a spiritual standpoint, then because for the past 3 months it's been like school. It's been going to school. So I've been going to school learning about everything that I can do. And then so when I started to understand that that's what it was, I don't have a problem getting up. I just give me a reason to get up. And so I'm getting up, going to college classes or something. That's what it was. It's me getting up, going to school. Okay, what is it today? Okay, this is how to put on your armor. This is how to put on your wings. And I know I heard Thomas talking about you can see his armor and wings. And I'm like, okay, you got it too. So this is how to put it on. Okay, this is what you do. And so they would put me in situations designed to test my skill. And I would see dark entities. I would go into situations. I would go underground. It was a steel door. I knew that children on the other side, and there was all of these entities guarding the door. And I just welled up all this energy, and I just started shooting them, and I blew the doors open. And so it was like, it's that kind of shit. And so it was like, okay. And so I was used to it. And all of that happened there was no fear. I was just, okay, let's go do it. But the one time that I had to see the giant, I was fear, but I knew that fear was from a past life. And so once I got done with that, it was like, okay, let's do it. Like last night, we went to Antarctica.
Cool.
Yeah, we went to Antarctica.
Not many people get to go there.
I asked the question. I said, dude, what's in Antarctica? Let's go see.
Yeah.
And so my dumb ass went to Antarctica by myself. Probably in the wrong sector. I think I just jumped into the wrong location.
Yeah.
Tipped off the wrong people.
This one was interesting. Because within a quantum second, we're in this room, this large room, and these walls that go up as high as you can, and I don't even know where they end. And all of these walls had extraterrestrial scripts and symbols on it. And the symbols lit up. And they were all over the place. And this is where we landed. We were in this room, right? And then we go out and we go down the hall. Before I did that, I put on my armor because I said something's got to tell me I'm putting on my armor. So I put on my armor for protection, right? And we're going down the hallway, and then I can see the guards coming because all of the guards there and all of that, they have remote viewing capabilities and they can tap in to see. And I can tell that they were trying to tap into something, whatever's there, but they couldn't. So we go down the hallway. And there was this door on the right. We walk in the door, and as we walk in, the door opens, and there's an 8-foot tall gray there. And he's like happy to see us. And he's there not by choice. And he's this scientist, doctor or something. I don't know what he is, but there's all of this high technical things in technology things in the room, and so he's elated that we're there. And so I look over there and I look in the room and I said, "Is that a med bed?" Absolutely. There's a med bed in that room.
Mm.
And he says, "Would you like to try it?" Okay. And
Why
so
not?
I get in, I take my wings and I put them in, and he closes it up. And I was only in there for about 3-5 minutes, and I can feel all the energy pulsing through me everywhere. Every part of my body, I felt it. Right. And then as I got out, I wanted my Sasquatch brother to come forward, and then he and the 8-foot tall gray, they started talking, and I didn't want to infringe upon what they were talking about. I really didn't care, but they were talking, and then I said we need to get the hell up out of here. So then we got out, and so that was yesterday. And so I know now that I document all of this, and so I know that the book is going to be about my walk with my Sasquatch brother, and we're walking everywhere. And experiencing things and really sort of breaking down the conspiracies, breaking down the beliefs of who they are, and then sharing who they are in authenticity and who they are actually. And it's been absolutely amazing. I remember one time I said, I've been down there, I've astral projected down where they are. And when I did that, their whole community was waiting for me. And it was absolutely unbelievable. They were waiting for me. And they have this huge crystal that powers the whole place. And so I just meeting everybody and just understanding who they are from their purest standpoint. And I think one day I said, I asked you a lot of questions. I want to just follow you to see what your day was like. So as he walked through the community and meet people, point of view, and then all of a sudden he teleports outside, and it's this top of this cliff overlooking this valley. And this office here is my place of Zen. That was his. And so I could see everything in that valley. And he just sat there, and he just sort of took a breath, and he just sat there. And he was everything and nothing at the same time. And it was the most amazing thing that I have ever experienced. And just understanding who he is and what he does. And so that's him. And so that's when the most amazing part of it.
Sounds amazing. Jenny, hi Jenny. Jenny says she's got a question. Did your 8-foot tall grey have any facial features?
He had this tight sort of suit on, but big eyes. I can't remember if he wasn't really gray, but he was sort of in that color vein. Yeah. Large hair, but I know he was 8 feet tall. And he was very tall. And then the one thing that he did was he was absolutely late. I sensed that he was there by force. And this is funny. I asked him his name, and I got this garbled message, right? And then he said, "Probably not good that I give you my name." And I said, "Okay, I don't want to know your name." That's exactly what he said. It's not good that I give you my name, because if you start publishing this stuff and then somebody come get you, and then they know that you were there. So it's okay, that's good. So that's what happened there. But yeah, I mean, it was like he was there by force. He was there by force.
I think there's a lot of misconceptions about these certain beings and entities that have been written about. Like even with the Greys, there's so many different species of them and hybrids I'm hearing. Like, did you encounter any of that? Have you seen any of that?
Not yet, but I look forward to it, because that's probably the next question I'm going to ask. Okay, and then he's going to say, "Let's go see," and then that's when we go see. And so I've got all this long list of questions. So whatever comes to me, I'm like, okay, I just got to be mentally prepared to go wherever we got to go. And the first one shocked me, but I'm not going to be shocked anymore. I'm just going to be prepared, and let's go do it. So it's just whatever comes to me. Okay, I'm going to ask him a question, and I know what he's going to say. Let's go see. And then we just tap in, and we're there just like that.
How do you prepare yourself to go like journeying with your Sasquatch brother? Do you have to sort of do breathing for half an hour, or can you just sort of go right there? Is there any preparation?
When I first started it took me about half an hour,
Mm.
with the breathing and really understanding and calming myself. And as I practiced and as I got better at it, now it's just like that. It takes about 5 minutes and I'm there.
Mm.
I always ground myself first. I always call all my energy back. And then after I do that, I set my intention and I go right there. And then I wait for him to come and I hear and so the past 2 weeks, it's so funny because yesterday was the first time I channeled him in over 2 weeks because I was going through all of this trauma and all of this, I'm sure like everybody was going through this last 2 weeks with the solar flares and the CMEs, everybody's going through it. I was going through it too. And so as I going through it, I was like, I don't want to channel. I don't want to do anything. I just want to meditate and do what I got to do to understand me and release it and all of that. And then yesterday, it took me about 5 minutes to get to him. And then that's all of this love and I missed you and all of this kind of stuff was like going back and forth. And we missed each other. And it was that I felt all of this love. And it's like I look forward to tapping in and connecting with him. And I wasn't doing that for 2 weeks. And he understood that because I think they knew because his mom, when I first started channeling him and because my guide showed me the title of my book.
Mm.
He showed me the title of my book, and I was sort of getting in my own way about some of the things that I needed to get out of my head and all of that. He just said, "Don't worry about it, you'll get there." Mm. And then his mom just said, "Just start writing your book," and because she knew that I had 4 chapters to set up, so I get to the point where I channel, and so it's so funny. Once I got to almost the end of chapter 3. She came in on meditation, says, now it's time for you to practice. And so what we did for about 3 weeks is just, she says, don't do it. She says, just connect with them. Don't go anywhere. Don't ask for, don't just connect and feel him, look through his eyes. And then that's when she was doing all kinds of putting thoughts and visions in my head. And we were practicing, focusing and resetting ourselves. And so it was mom. Mom was helping us get there. And so it took about 2.5, 3 weeks for us to get to the point where now it's just like that. And so it's like repetition and discipline and practice.
Excellent. Do you have to ask your brother's mother's permission for your Sasquatch's brother to come out to play, or is he allowed to just go wherever he wants with you?
He's allowed to go wherever he wants. And so because she set it up, she says, you'll be channeling my son. And that made it the confirmation that we were going to be channeling. So anytime that we're connected, I reach out to him, he shows up and he's there. And so and sometimes he says no, and that's fine. And because he says you got to do this yourself or whatever. Okay, I'm up for it. And then I go back and then I share with him and then I get this overwhelming confirmation of love and all of that. And so we have a connection now that is undeniable. And I think for me, it solidified when I really felt his pain. Because I don't know if he's ate something or whatever happened, but I'm like, he was suffering. And I'm like, but I can help him. Because I'm looking at Thomas's lives and I'm like, I can do that. And so that's when I said, okay, and then that's when I did it. And when I was able to do that, I let him sort of rehab for about a couple of days, and I checked in on him, and then 2 days later, it was like 100%, and it was absolutely extraordinary. So now it took practice though. It took practice of just no expectations, just take 45 minutes and connect with them as long as you can. And then mom would put in visions and thoughts, and then I could tell he was struggling on his end. I was struggling on my end. And then that's when she took over and reset us. And that's when she taught us what we needed to do. But it's been extraordinary.
I feel like he was just waiting for someone to reach out.
Yeah.
Like just somebody that could connect in with him.
And it kind of what struck me from that is that with guides and everyone that connect to a spirit, they automatically know, because they can sense it, obviously, whether they can trust us or not. You know, it's not like what we have when we have human interaction, and some, you know, we can feel each other if someone has good intentions or bad intentions. So there's that kind of element of knowing, but there's also where we have to maybe get to know someone to know whether we can trust them or not. Whereas with spirit, with guides, etc., they automatically know, because they wouldn't be there, and you wouldn't feel them if they didn't. You know, if there is such a thing as trust in that realm. But I gather, from what I feel, is that they know that they can trust you, or they know that they can trust whoever they connect to. Otherwise, they wouldn't connect to them. Yeah. So that's kind of a different. Whereas we have to kind of maybe feel someone out to start off with. They just know.
And they know, you know, and just like when he says, let's go see, he knows that he's like, when we went to Antarctica, he knew that I'm going to put my armor on, and he was shielded. He was shielded under me, and we just went through, we were going down the hallway, and they didn't know we were there. And so that trust is definitely absolutely there. You're 100% right. And it's been magnificent.
I mean, I haven't had the experience of channeling Sasquatch like you have. But one day, hopefully, it sounds amazing. I've always been interested in them, I must admit, and I like seeing the videos of them. Well, the ones that I mean, who can say whether the ones that we see are staged or whatever? Like I said to you earlier, but yeah, that I've always been interested in them, and. Yeah, hopefully one day. Thomas, have you channeled Sasquatch or had
another Sasquatch? But I think it's important to say that there's so many beings out there you can connect in with. I mean, I was talking to what I believe was like a mushroom being. I don't know how I came across this guy, but I'm sitting there. I'm trying to call mushroom god. He's like, "No, I'm not a god. I'm a being." Anyways, because I didn't even know how to perceive them. But
they're like Toad, Mario.
We have this idea that there's certain, how to put it, like there's certain sets of beings that we can only communicate with. That we've been taught about, whether that's through witchcraft or shamanism or whatever, angels. But there's so many other beings out there.
Yeah. So
like with me, I mean, I've connected in with Syrians and Arcturians, but those are written about. What starts to boggle my mind is what is not written about. Like when I went and met with a bunch of fire elementals, it wasn't the most pleasant experience, but I went in there as a warrior. I didn't really know what to expect. So like, it kind of came across a little crass because I knew I'd been a fire elemental, but if I had never known that, I never would have known where to go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had the fixation point of how to get into that. So a lot of times, like when I hear someone talk about a certain subset of beings, I'll go and talk to them. But where I'm trying to figure out is how to open up to a whole new like understanding of. Because I mean, if there's 400,000 star races out there, how many different beings are there?
Yeah.
But I feel we're naturally, not naturally, but I feel a lot of people are just distrustful, which is, I'm hearing it's good on some levels, but it's bad on other levels. So they're not connecting in with certain things because of religious doctrine or other things of that nature.
Yeah.
I guess it's always good to question stuff. But then I guess it comes down to kind of really tuning in to your heart space, I suppose, or to your intuition, whatever you like to call it, and feel the energy is kind of good practice, I suppose, in a sense. And I imagine with you, Len, you just automatically knew what you had to do. Like there was no thought, oh, should I or shouldn't I? It was like, right, I need to do that, and you did it.
Yeah, and it was, I automatically knew what I had to do because as I said, 4 weeks prior to that, I was going through training. I was going through understanding every power, all of the powers. I'm in the 11th dimension. One day I'm merging with my higher self in the 11th dimension. I go in this large peak, and it was just this place on top of this peak. I go in the door, and there is Jesus, there's Buddha, and there's Krishna. And then on the far left, there's my guide right there. And then as I turn around and somebody coming in the door, my channeling teacher comes in. His higher self comes in, because the day before on his live, he said, quote unquote, Lynn is a monster, when he finally realizes how much power he has. And so I'm thinking about this all day. I'm thinking, so in the meditation, I'm like, that's what I said. I want to know how much power I have. I merge with my higher self. I'm in the 11th dimension, and there's Jesus, there's Buddha, there's Krishna, there's my guide. And then he walks in the door. And then like last week when I was going through these trials and these challenges, I connected with Jesus twice. And did energy work. He did energy work on me, and just really calming me, understanding everything that I needed to do. And so it has been absolutely amazing just to understand what. And so when I get to those situations, I automatically know what to do. And it's like I don't even second guess it. I don't question it. And it's like, and I don't get to the point where I got to know your name. I don't care. I don't want to know. I just know why I'm there. Yeah. I know what I need to do. And then once I need to do, I'm out. I'm not standing for some self-grandizing, gesture. I know I'm out. Let's go. Now I might check on you to see if you're okay. But other than that, yeah, that's what I do.
It's funny because you say about not wanting to know their name. In my experience and from my personal kind of when I've been channeling or when I've seen others channel, a lot of the time, the spirit, the guide, when you ask them what their name is, they say it doesn't matter. It's like it's irrelevant in a sense, because you can pick them up from their energy, so you don't need to say, is so and so there. It's like, well, if they're there or not, you can just think, and that you can feel them and they'll be there. So yeah. And just wondering, do you do a channeling kind of class at the healing center?
We will. That's next year, and that's why I got my buddy over here. I mean, I told him he's gonna be blowing up. So we're gonna be expanding into a bigger facility, late next year, and so he's gonna have a really pivotal part in that. So I'm just excited, and we're gonna have all kind of classes, and we're gonna be so different than the usual sort of spiritual healing centers and all of that. We're gonna have channeling classes. We're gonna have classes for kids to channel my Sasquatch brother, all that stuff. I mean, it is going to be absolutely life-changing for people when they're ready to do that. And so it's going to be, I'm excited for it to happen.
Sounds amazing. And
I feel like a lot of the centers and stuff, and I'm not disrespecting any of the Atlanta area, but it's like, it's the same rigmarole in every store.
Yeah.
So there's not a more expansive viewpoint of looking at what we're capable of. I mean, Len, you've seen it on TikTok. It's like everyone will be like, "What's my guide's names? What's my guide's names? What's my guide's names?" Like, you don't need to know your guide's names.
Yeah.
Like you can heal. I mean, even with a client yesterday, I'm like, just put your hand on your arm and heal yourself. It's not that hard to do.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't say it like that, but I'm like, just try it. And she's like, "What?" And I'm like, it's that simple. It's not complicated.
Yeah. 100% true. So that's what we're going to do. And I have a grandson. He's 3 years old. And the funny thing is, he has every gift that I have. 3. And so I am working with him. We are just like this. We're very close. And then so I remember astral projecting 10 years ahead. I mean, 7 years ahead, right? And he was 10 years old. And we were in the new center, and it was him and I was working with him. And so it's been that. So I know what he is going to do. And so I have a 12-year-old granddaughter, and she's the same. And so both of them are gifted. They can see spirits, they can see entities, they can feel. He knows when Papa's coming down the street. He says Papa's coming, and Jamaica, my wife said he's not coming, and he'll take his little chair and sit up to the window, and here I am pulling up in the driveway. So it's just that's what he does, and so but it's just understanding, allowing him to be a 3-year-old because he's a 3-year-old, but just I teach him how to breathe, take deep breaths. When he sees Granny getting agitated, he'll go up to her and say, "Granny, take a deep breath, take another one, and take another one." And so that's the things that I'm teaching him, and just so getting the tools because there's so many young children that are going to be in that space that they need someplace, and parents need someplace to take them to, so that we have an opportunity to help teach them and help them grow. And I think that's going to be part of what we're going to do in the future.
Give them a chance, encourage them to open their gifts and work with them rather than shut them off, which is obviously what sort of the society kind of does. We have a question from Jenny. She says, have any of you been shown or guided to learn how different people or energies or entities can both conceal their energy signature and or use some sort of magic or otherwise to falsely present an energy that isn't actually theirs? So, yeah. Yeah.
What about you, Jimmy?
I haven't been shown, no. I just trust what I feel. And if it turns out to be not the actual thing, then so be it. It's a learning curve.
There's been some times, but I usually catch it pretty quick. It's very rare that I've ever encountered that. I'm usually pretty quick on figuring out what something is. Just by its energy. Well, it's like that universal law. I forget which one it is, but you have to ask an entity 3 times what it is, and it has to answer you 3 times. There's something about the Trinity in that. It can't lie to you. So if it it's telling you what it is, and if it misspeaks even once, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what you are. But normally I can tell just by its energy.
Yeah.
Is that what you find, Len? You just automatically know, like going back to the Sasquatch, you just know.
It's so funny because a friend of mine, we were talking yesterday, and he was going through the same things in the last 2 weeks as I was. And so he said in the conversation we had, he said last Friday, he's like, he wasn't sleeping. I mean, he was up all night doing, like everybody else. And so he said he took something to make himself sleep, and said it was like, I don't know if it was some THC or something to that effect to really get him to go to sleep. And then he said he starts seeing entities that claim that there was his great grandfather and great grandmother, who she's never seen before, right? And so they started telling him that they need to work through him to work off their karma. And so something wasn't right with him. He said he didn't feel right. So he started asking all these contingencies, these questions, and so he ended up not doing it. I said, if you're in the space, if your energy is not right, and then you take something to put you in that state, you're going to draw some of those things. They're going to attach to you. And I said, that's what he did. And so he was angry all day for the past 3 days. And he said, wasn't getting any sleep. He was chopping. He was in that space. He took something to go to sleep. And then he tapped into something, those things, those middle vibration entities that tapped in, that masquerade themselves as if. So if your energy is not what it needs to be, and then you try to tap in, they will see it, they will sense it, and then they will. And so what he did was he discerned it with his heart space. He said, that's not right. But instead of cutting it off there, he started asking all these questions, and immediately, and then sooner or later, he cut them off. But he knew that it wasn't right. And so your heart space will never steer you wrong. And so that's what I do when I walk into Antarctica and the 8-foot tall gray, my heart space. I feel it. I feel him being, sort of ecstatic about seeing us. And I can feel his suffering when he's says, I'm here by force. And so I feel it. And so that doesn't steer you wrong. And so you can discern anything if you just rely on this and not this. And so that's the practice that we have to do.
Yeah, well said. Definitely. So I guess like you were saying, your friend, when he took whatever he took, he was matching the entities that appeared. They match the frequency, and so therefore he attracted them, or we like to call it. And so he had to use his heart space to actually discern. But yeah. Cool.
And so we have to understand it's 100% about us. It's always 100% about us. Are we attracting that vibration? Are we attracting? And if we look deep enough, we are. And if we try to, and if we are aware and if we tear down the peels of the onion enough, we understand that it was us that attracted that. And so once we had a talk, we understood it and was like, yeah, I guess I did. But yeah.
Well, Jim, I'll tell you a story since we're on here. It was a while back. I don't want to say what I took, but the point is I took it. It's in ayahuasca. So I took it and I was at a gas station. So this gas station, all the walls of the gas station turned into Mayan ruins. And this voice started talking to me. And it wasn't, I knew it was fine, the voice. But it like, I was in my car, everything was packed up. I left this place I was living in. And it was like, look around you. Like everything that's going on in your life, you manifested this. Like every issue you have, everything in your car, you manifested this. The situation, you manifested this. Like, look at what you did. Like, it wasn't accusatory. It wasn't any of that. But it was like, if you want to undo this, you've got to manifest this. You got to figure out how to, that you put yourself here now in this environment. And I was like, oh, shit. It was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah. That's good.
And kind of just a question from that. How much in your view, experience, Len, are things, do we create everything, or how much is so-called fate and they're things are going to happen whatever we do? Is there a percentage like 50-50, or is it 100% one way, 100% another? Do you have any views on that?
Yeah, I believe we create everything. I think everything is destined. Everything is designed to happen to us. And because, if you don't think three-dimensionally, we think everything happens at the same time. So your higher self is looking way down the road and way past and understanding what you need to get to, and understand that everything is designed to happen to you. So everything that happens to you is designed to happen to you. And I think if you keep that perspective and not be in this state of victimhood and says, no, this is supposed to happen. And so what am I doing to attract this? What do I need to change to attract something of high vibration? What do I need to, what space, what's in me that I need to clear space so that I can attract something that is higher vibration? Am I holding space for something that is on this vibration level that I continue to attract? And so that's the quandary. That's the challenge that we all have to adhere to. And I don't think there's no percent. I think everything that happens to us, there are no coincidences, is supposed to happen to us. So that guy was supposed to do that day and take that THC, whatever he took, and he was supposed to, have that test, and he was supposed to talk to me, and I was supposed to make him understand what his part is in on this. And so I think everything is by design.
And I think there's sometimes places we're supposed to eventually get to. Now, if we don't get there by a certain point, this is just my theory, that they'll put things in our path to start shifting us really fast. Sometimes you think these things are horrible things that are happening to you, but they're actually happening to push you.
Yeah. I like to call it that the spirit kind of chokes you a little bit. Yeah. And I think we all go through that, that phase of where it's like, man, I was working, a year and a half ago, I was a director of a company making over $220,000 a year. But the spirit was choking the shit out of me. And I was in the hospital, almost died. A bunch of stuff happened. That's the point where, okay, I'm tired of getting choked. I have to understand this is not what your purpose is. Your purpose is something greater. And once you free up space for things that are no longer service you, man, it continues to elevate. And so this past year, I've had more awakening and elevation than I had since I was 38. And I've had a lot of awakenings, 38, the book talks about. But as soon as I freed up that space, man, I mean, it happens. But you're right. Spirit chokes you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the stories that you one of the things you elucidated on in that other the Life Verbs podcast about your experience with saying, "Oh, I can't do this anymore," and then the next year you said, "Oh, I can't do this anymore," even though you were doing the same thing. But as I think we've all been there to some degree, insofar as, oh, we know we should do this, but this is comfortable, so we're going to just stay here for a bit.
Yeah.
You know.
And Jimmy, they did the same thing to me. It was pre-pandemic, but my guides had told me, they were like, you have to do this full time. And I was like, man, I'm totally happy doing pest control. I've been here 10, 11 years. And I was like, good luck making me. Because that's how I'll talk to them sometimes. So I was doing martial arts on a Planet Fitness. My lead leg flew out. I ruptured a tendon in my foot, had to be put in a boot, left work for 4 months. Then the pandemic hit. And they were like, okay. I was like, I don't got nothing better to do. So let me see what I can do with this on Facebook. And then it just exploded. And just things started being thrown at me. Like, live in Savannah, do this, do that. And everything was provided. And I was like, this is insane. I don't even understand what's going on.
Yeah. And that's the amazing thing is like, because I wasn't listening. Shit, man, I wasn't listening. I'm like, and so, I was in the hospital, caught COVID in intensive care. And an ambulance said, if we would have waited 5 minutes longer, I wouldn't have been here. So I'm in intensive care. I have oxygen hooked up to me, and Jamaica, my wife, she's beast. I mean, you're not supposed to be on the COVID wing, but she's standing there in the doorway. Right? And I come out of consciousness, and I started rambling to her, telling her all of these guides and angels are telling me that I'm my grandfather. All these things telling me that I'm not going to die. I'm going to be okay. I'm ready. I need to start working on my purpose. And she's ready to open up the center like yesterday, right? And so she had quit her job about a month before that happened, and so she's ready. And so once she's heard that, and I'm like, okay. And she says, okay. And then for the next 3 weeks, I'm in the hospital. My left lung collapsed, and so I'm tube is coming out of me. I'm meditating every single day and breathing. Doctor's telling her, well, we may have to put him on a ventilator because maybe his oxygen levels go down. But the next day, my oxygen levels go up with one lung. And so for 3 weeks, I'm doing that. And then I walk out of there with no oxygen, no anything. I lose about 25 pounds. So I'm rehab for the next 2 months. And then she walks in and asks me, what about that day? Do you remember? I don't remember hardly anything. She remembers every little thing. And then a month later, we had the center. And then we had a grand opening January of last year. Now, I'm supposed to walk away, but I'm like, no, I'm going to work all year, and then I'm going to quit at the end of the year. And then she's full time at the center, going crazy, but I'm still working. So January, February, each month I'm getting more and more angry about the job that I no longer like. And then in July of that year, I ended up losing my voice for 2 weeks. I couldn't talk. So I'm going through all of these meetings and I can't talk one bit. And then the first week of August was the 1 year anniversary of me going into the hospital. And then my boss sends me a message adding another responsibility on top of everything I had. And I'm like, I can't do all of this. And I said, we're going to have to take some of this off my plate. And he goes, well, in the next one-on-one, let's just prioritize and let's talk about this in the next one-on-one meeting. And I lost it. That's all it took. I started crying. I'm lost it. I go upstairs and my wife is on the master bedroom with my grandson, and I'm crying. I can't do this anymore. And Jamaica looks at me. She says, baby, you said that a year ago.
Yeah, sure.
I'm like, okay. And so that's when I said, okay, I need to walk away. In August of last year, I walked away. And so that's when I started. Everything happened once I released that, January, I started working on my book. 4 weeks later, I'm done.
Mm.
I'm done with the book. And, yeah.
Cool.
And so it's been magical.
Mm. Amazing. Got any more questions, Thomas?
No, the only thing I wanted to really ask about the book is, you write it out? Did you type it out? Did you voice it out?
No, it's so funny because, let me show my book. This is my book right there, Mastering All I Am.
Nice.
It's so funny. I had a numerology reading, right? Now I don't know anything about numerology, but I knew that my life path number is an 11, master number, right? And so I had a numerology reading 3 days before my birthday in January, right? And he said, and then he just brought up out of the note, it's time to start writing your book. And I'm like, what? He said, start writing. He says, just get up and start writing. And so about a couple of days after my birthday, I just got on this computer and I just started writing. I just started typing. And I was always a great writer in high school and college. I was a great creative writer and all of that. So I had that skill. But I just started writing. And all of a sudden, I remember things when I was 4 years old. I started remembering things that I'm like, okay, I was tapping into things. And so it's so funny. It'd be one day after my meditation, I'd be like, today's a writing day.
Mm.
And I'd tell Jamaica, today's a writing day. And I would sit down and I would, for all day, and I would write. And I would skip 2 days. And then meditation, today's a writing day. And I would just type.
Mm.
And I was just typing on my computer, Word. And 30 something chapters later, 4 weeks later, I was done. And then I reached out to two publishers, and the first one was a scam. And I knew that, but the second one, I emailed it to him. He lived out in California, and he called me. He says, well, okay, send me your manuscript, and then it'll take 2 or 3 days to get back. And then I'm not making any promises, right? So I sent him my manuscript, and he calls me back 4 hours later. And he says, you have the whole room office buzzing.
Excellent.
And I'm like, okay. Then we had an agreement, and then I had to go through all of this because that was my first book. We had to go through all this editing and covers and pictures and everything. And it's been getting the book published. That ain't easy, but it's you go through it. I'm experienced. I know what to do now. So and then early August, it was like it was done, and so and it's on Barnes and Noble and Amazon. So it's been an absolutely marvelous journey to get it out.
Sounds like what you were saying about you'd write and then maybe you'd take a couple of days off or you'd meditate and anything. It sounds like you just waited for inspiration. You just waited for the moment rather than trying to force anything. And because like you could have done it when you were trying to force and written it, and then you probably wouldn't have been happy with what you written because it wouldn't have been in the flow, so to speak. So like waiting, I think we in some respects we learn to just wait for the moment, and that's, and in a sense, and if we don't feel like we've accomplished anything, we kind of beat ourselves up sometimes for not doing anything. But then we begin to appreciate that it's better to wait until we have the inspiration, because things happen easier and it's not so much of an effort, or at least it doesn't feel like there's much of an effort if we try and do something being creative when we're not necessarily in the flow. So I kind of get that from the process that you went through about just waiting for the right moment. That's exactly how it is. And so it gave me experience for this book that I'm writing now, and my brother's mother, Sasquatch, she just said start writing. It's because she knew that the book starts out where this ends. This book ends to where my journey at the beginning of the year, and so it just starts out. So there was a whole bunch of things that happened to me from that time until the present, and so setting up the time when I actually channeling. And so there were chapters. She just said start writing. And I didn't even know what she meant until I just sat down and started writing. I'm like, now I know. And then instead of forcing it, I was like, okay, so what's to happen next? It's like, okay, something happened. I'll ask the question. We'll experience something. I need to write that. And so I start writing. This is what happens. Like yesterday, as soon as after we left Antarctica, it's like
I got to write it. And so that's the experience of what I'm going to do. I'm not forcing it. It's just, it'll be done when it gets done. And so it's just understanding that I'm tapping in and believing that, what I'm going to writing is going to be true. And then I'm just going to just wait for the inspiration and waiting for the ability to tap in.
Awesome. One of the questions is, how do you get your numerology life path number? Do you, if you could just explain that for those who don't know.
Yeah. So it's your birthday. You add, so my birthday is January the 8th, 1964. And so you the 1 plus 8, that's 9. And then you add the 1, that's 10, that's 6, that's 16, 4, hold on. And then 19, 16, 4 is 20. And then, so whatever it comes up to, and then you always pare it down to an individual number unless it's a master number. So you add those numbers. So the master numbers are 11, 22, and 33. So if your number pairs down to an 11, then you are an 11. If it pairs down to a 22, then you're a 22 or 33. So that's the way I did it. And so you just there's a bunch of sites on there, life path numbers. So once I understood, and so funny, book talks about 16 years ago, I'm working in Chicago, and I'm the manager of a calibration lab, and we calibrate equipment for companies, test the accuracy. That's what I did for NASA. That's what I'm doing for the corporate company, right? And so there was this company that made crystals for crystal oscillators. I mean, signal generators. Crystals are used for oscillators for frequencies, right? All kinds of crystals, quartz crystals, right? And so one of our technicians is going out there to calibrate, right? And so he goes out there, he brings back this large crystal, this clear quartz crystal about this big. And he just gives it to me. And this is 7. I'm like, okay, what is this? And he says, no, this is yours. And I've kept it. And so that's a master crystal. And so clear quartz is a master, and it's clear quartz master crystal. So that's gave me an idea that my higher self was putting all of these messages in me and these signals all along the way. And then I get to a point where I put it all together, and I just looked up my life path number one time, and then I had the numerology reading back in January, and he says, you're an 11. And that's when he said all of these things that I was going to be doing. And 2024 is the 8th year. The 2 plus 4 is 8th year. You're born on the 8th. So this is going to be a huge transition year for you. And you're just ending the 7-year cycle of sort of training and everything else. And this 7 years is done. And then next year is going to be it. So we're setting that up to really sort of kick off 2024 with a bang.
Got a few plans coming then for 2024. Excellent. So your life path, so it'll be 1 plus 8 is 9, plus the 1 for that's 10, plus the 9, 29, plus the 6, and then plus the 4. So that all adds up to 29. Obviously, that's pared down to 11. So
yeah, and then the 2 plus 9 is 11. So that's and so I'm like, okay, I'm 11. And so I knew, and so that was that crystal that gave me 17 years ago, your master number. So all of that was setting me up to understanding the trueness and authentic to who I am from the spiritual standpoint. And now I know.
Excellent. Marvelous. So what other things have you got coming up in 2024? I know you mentioned about doing channeling courses and stuff like that. Is there anything else? Have you got any
January 14th, we've got Thomas. Thomas is going to be at our Healing Environment Center in Smyrna, Georgia. He is going to do a healing event. So it's going to be huge, bringing everything. Everybody's going to come in and whatever issues and maladies that you have, he's going to be there. We're going to be there for 3 hours, 3 hours or so. We may go over, and then for him to absolutely just be who he is from the standpoint, and it's time, and we're excited about it. We're preparing for it. We're going to get the flyers out. We're going to get the advertising, marketing, and all of that stuff. So I'm excited to have him there. We sort of met my wife and him and Michelle, we met yesterday and talked about it. And so it's going to be exciting. And then in February, we've got, he's going to be putting a Reiki classes and just teaching, Reiki the right way and the honest way and understanding how it is, because it's sort of branched off into so many different, avenues now. So we want to get it done the right way and all of that. So I'm excited to have him in. That means that I don't have to do it because Jamaica wanted me to do it, and I knew that I wasn't going to be the one to do it. And I said, somebody else is doing it.
As soon as he brought it up, my guides were like, teach it. And Michelle had been on me about teaching it for a while, and I was like, I don't want to teach Reiki. Anyway, my guides were like, teach it, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll teach Reiki. That's usually how I work, Jimmy. Like my guides will be like, or even Michelle will be yelling at me for something for a while, and then I'm like, and then eventually she's like, you're gonna do it eventually, anyways. You may say no like 20 times until you say yes.
And coming up this Saturday, we have Tony Jones. She's a recording artist. She does a lot of affirmation recordings, and we're going to have a sound healer, a sound bowl healer to accompany her, and just coming in and just going through it and then really going through that affirmations and sound healing and vibrations and understanding. So that's coming up on this Saturday, and we're excited about that. So we're having a lot of events, and next year we're gonna really jump off and really expand to where we need to bring in as many people as we possibly can.
You got plenty of expansion plans then. Maybe open up some heat centers in other locations as well.
We're that's on the plan. So we're going to do it. We're going to keep this one open. We're going to expand into a bigger facility. So we're going to. I've seen the facility, so I know it's going to happen. So I've seen it. So
is it in Antarctica?
No.
Stay away from Antarctica.
Yeah. I've gone there. I'm good.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I'm good. I don't want to push my luck.
Yeah. You've been there, done that. Cool. Right.
I think that wraps us up, Jimmy.
Yeah, feels complete. I thought it was only going to be about half an hour initially. We were going an hour and 20 minutes. So wow. It's just been so fascinating. It's just questions after questions. Really.
Show everyone your book again, Lynn, before we go.
Yeah. It's a Master of All That I Am. It's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. It has you can get the ebook, or you can get this. You can get the book. So just go ahead, and it's just very affordable. Talks about my journey from age 4 till present, until January of this year, and it'll help definitely inspire those that think that they're not alone. There's others out there. I didn't have a lot of people to help me along the way, so all of the experience that I went through, it was true. I had to. They were challenged. There was a time when I got my ego, busted too, because you get to a point where I'm a badass. I can do it all. No. Then somebody comes into your life that really sets you, and so that happened to me too. But yeah. So it's a really inspirational, exciting book, and I'm happy about it. And so so definitely go get it, and it'll help you in your journey.
Sounds awesome. Well, thank you ever so much, Ben.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. This is a pleasure. It was an honor to talk to you guys. Nice meeting you, Jimmy. And I'm going to look forward to talking to you in the future. So this is a pleasure.
Thank you. Pleasure as well. It was an honor. Thank you, brother. And thank you everyone for watching. And we'll see you all again soon.
See you guys later.
Au revoir.